Awesome. So I'm going to kind of preface this that this is like a continuous conversation. Like Kelly, Joel, and I like have these continuous conversations that just go from like a meeting here or a YouTube video here, or we'll be joking on Messenger about something, and we have like this continual conversation. And we were talking the other day, and I thought this would be a perfect like live to come on and just talk with, because I do soul contract readings. I'm a medical intuitive, plant advocate, all of these things. And Kelly is in the whole like astrology realm, and I love it, because we often banter back about things that are going on here in the 3D world, in the celestial world, in the cosmic world. And it's always so interesting. But we got on this conversation the other day, and it was about the new year, which was, very pertinent because we're in the, in the new year. We're getting started with 2023, and we're looking at all these things, and everybody's looking at predictions and the celestial bodies and the list goes on and on. But we got into this conversation about like, it's wintertime. I mean, other than people here in Arizona, it's wintertime. So
Florida.
Yeah, or Florida. So, or maybe, like Texas sometimes, has winter, but
yeah,
it just depends on, Mother Nature. But it's winter time, and like we're all hibernating supposedly, in winter time. That's what happens. But we're like starting all these new things. So I kind of wanted to continue this conversation with Kelly Jo on here and just chat about like, what does that do to us? Like, what does that do to us as humans to try to start things in the middle of a time where we should be kind of hibernating? So we'll let Kelly Jo kind of take it there, and let's see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, great intro. Great intro. I do want to throw in, not that it makes too much of a difference of the conversation we're going to have, but we both have a lot in common right now, but we also both come from very common backgrounds and upbringings, and that is in the religious, conservative, Christian upbringing and world. So both of us have really gone through both sides of things, and now we're here in the middle, like, oh my God, it's all the same thing. Weird. But yeah, so when I mentioned this to you, I think I actually said it in a joking kind of manner. I really didn't think that you were going to pick up on what I was laying down, but of course you did. So I actually discovered this last year. Was my first year that it was like identified to me, and it really like my aha moment happened. And what it is essentially explaining is that us as humans, we believe that the new year happens on January 1st. Obviously, that is just a United States thing. I know a lot of other countries have New Year, so we're talking about here. And in the new year, it is cold, it is dark, the trees are dead, the flowers are not blooming. I mean, us as humans, we go through, I think, all of the holidays. We're just really set up for failure if you think about it. We start with all of the holidays. We got Thanksgiving, and then we have Christmas. And obviously everyone deals with their own bullshit. I don't know if I should say that on Facebook, but their own stuff with the holidays. And then after the holidays, we go right into the new year. And it's what we've always known. It's what's always been shown to us. But it is such a fast-paced moment, and it's exhausting. And then what happens from that is we are told that we need to be setting resolutions. We're told that we need to be doing all of these huge changes and all of this stuff, and it's completely against our biological human clock. I know when it changed, the time that it changed from being sun time to moon time. Do you know, Rachel? Do you know?
No, but you're going to tell us.
I'm going to tell you. It's going to make a lot of you depressed, because it made me depressed too. So when this happened, it was done by Julius Ceaser back in those days. Okay. And it was done for work purposes. It was done so we could get more daylight, more working hours out of the man. So that is when the clock was created. That's when the time was shifted from the moon calendar to the sun calendar. And I believe that that's when the world went to shit. No, I'm just kidding. But it is just something that it's not talked about, it's not explained. And I feel like a lot of people spend January feeling like they're missing out or they're not doing something right or they're wrong. And that truly sets them up for a year of not greatness. And I just feel like that's really unfair to do to ourselves.
So when we're talking about this, like I'm a solutions-based person. So
Yes.
I always think of like, what would be an opportune time in nature's calendar, let's just put it that way, nature's calendar for us to actually like start new things. Because if we're supposed to be like hibernating, I think of animals, I think of bears, I think, crops are already harvested and the ground is being recultivated, those types of things. If you grew up anywhere in agricultural, the United States, you kind of know that there are these cycles that we go through. So when would be a perfect time for many of us if we choose to hibernate right now, which I'm one of those people, I'm choosing to kind of like, hey, I already had things in motion and I'm finishing those things out, but I'm not really like pushing towards creating anything new that I haven't already had in motion.
Yeah.
And so when would be a good time for that?
Yeah, I love that. I really love how you touch on for you yourself personally, you already have things that are moving for you and that feel good for you, and you're not going to stop them because it's not the new year. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people live in these like restraints that like I can't do this or I can't do that. And I just feel like honestly, at the end of the day, it's really like stop forcing and start flowing. But for me personally, I believe that the new year begins at the spring equinox. So that is in March. If you just think about like spring in the Midwest, man, what a time to be alive, right? Like the snow is melting. We're coming out of our houses. The grass turns green and the trees come alive and the birds start chirping. And, it is just like, it makes me so excited. I have butterflies right now thinking about it because right now we're in winter. We don't have that outside. The trees are dead. They're bare. And do we look at the trees every year like, what are you doing? What are you doing, tree? Dying. No, absolutely. We know that the tree is going to die. And we know that when the spring equinox comes, it's going to come back to life. But we do not give ourselves that kind of grace and that kind of understanding. Another way that I look at it in an astrology point of view, so take it as you must, take it as you want. But the beginning of the astrology signs is the Aries. Aries is the first astrology sign, and that is the end of March, April. That is the spring equinox. The Aries transition sign happens right around the spring equinox. Aries is the first sign, and it is all about action, go getting, being confident, being a leader. Versus right now, we're in Capricorn season, which Capricorn is very hardworking and a seer and a doer, but it's not the beginner. It's not the beginner. And when I just think about it in that sense, like, man, it just makes so much sense for me. And like you mentioned with the farmer knows that in March and in April, the seeds got to go down. We have to start planting. But that doesn't mean that in January and February and December that he sat around and did nothing. No, he prepped himself. He rest because he had a really long season and he spent some time with his family, and then he planned his route. He bought his seeds. He started understanding where his crop was going to go. He started seeing where he was going to divide his profits. And then when spring happened, he was ready to go. Versus spring happening and you feeling so like a failure already. Like we set ourselves up that March, April comes and we already feel like we didn't complete our New Year's resolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it always interests me because I come from a background in the medical field. And, it was always a big thing, January 1 to start a diet or to start a wellness plan or to start a fitness plan. And then, the gyms were empty by, January, 20th, and I always found that really interesting because it always, for me anyways, this is my personal opinion, I always felt like I was being pulled back at this time of the year. And so for me, like in the last couple of years, I even stopped setting like goals. I have intentions that I put forth. I,
Yeah,
take words that, mean things to me, and I put those into place, and I create systems around it more so
right,
than actually like goals that are going to be accomplished. And they're more so like if they happen in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, I kind of look more like 90-day
right,
sections because
right,
that's
right.
kind of the seasons,
Yep, yep,
type thing. Getting back to what we're talking about,
yeah,
that it just seemed natural, like to do things in kind of that sequence
yeah,
because I wasn't pushing it. I wasn't going against the nature of how I exist as a
right.
human in nature. And
Right.
so I find this like this conversation very interesting, and I would be really interested in our listeners in the comments section. Have they ever felt like they're coming up against a lot of resistance
Yeah.
when they try to do things maybe in the way that society or media has pushed us to switch, because
Yeah.
they do want us to work more. Get it? Business
Yeah.
owner understand that, having good work ethics, all those types of things. But there's some ebbs and flows even in that. And so I find that very interesting. So I'd wonder in the comments, our listeners, have they ever felt that resistance when they come into the new year, like they do feel defeated already,
Mhm.
or they get into it and they already feel like it's a tug of war almost, to me at least. That's what I felt like. And it's more of uh, a soul feeling, not necessarily a physical feeling. It's more of my soul feels like it's being sucked
Yeah.
dry sometimes.
Oh gosh, I'm so glad you said that because I just feel like so many people, me myself included, like how many times have you just felt like something's wrong or something's not right or you're not happy or you don't feel like you're in flow and you don't know why? That's your soul. That is your inner self. That is your internal mission and direction telling you like, hey, something's not right. And we're not ever raised or taught to listen to that. And I believe that expectation is the thief of all joy. It does not matter in any situation, no matter how you put it up. If you're expecting something, you are putting yourself up for the risk of losing anything that you wanted to gain in the first place. And I mean, like you just said, the number one resolution in the new year is to lose weight, to go to the gym. I think that most of the people who start in the new year already know they're going to quit. They already know it because that's everyone does. Everyone does it. Everyone starts a resolution and then everyone gives up the resolution before February. And it's like a joke that we have as in society of like, what did you make yourself feel like shit for this new year? Instead of what do you really want to do? What really makes you feel good? What like right now, waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, it's so dark, it's so cold. No. But imagine myself waking up in springtime and the sun is shining and the birds are chirping, like it's just such a different atmosphere and environment for success, for a long-term goal. And it's just so unfair that, I mean, us as humans, we have a lot of unfair expectations put on us from little tiny babies, but especially the new year. I really feel like it starts us off feeling already negative and already dragged down. And I mean, maybe when March comes and the new spring comes, you might not be ready to start anything then either. Okay. Okay. No big deal. Stop forcing and start flowing. And a lot of the times when you do that, there's gonna be people who are like, that's weird. That's just, that's not normal, but like it's really none of their damn business.
Right. Well, and I love that you touched on expectations, because I love the way that you said that, because I always put expectations are the stealer of our joy, because they oftentimes we expect things out of people that those are the things that we may be able to do, in that situation or in that, line of work or whatever. That may be our abilities to do that. And oftentimes we displace, I'm a parent. So oftentimes I think, oh my gosh, my 12-year-old should be able to do what I do. Well, he can't do what I've done. I mean, I've been doing it for probably 4 times his life. I'm aging myself here, but it's one of those things like I'm sitting here putting expectations that I would put on a grown adult that's, halfway through their journey of life on a 12-year-old. That doesn't work. And oftentimes we do that with people with our expectations. And in society, we've created, we could go on and on about that, this whole conundrum of expectations. And we've had many discussions on this before. But to kind of just think about what is our own, like, sometimes we put external expectations on us because it is a new year, or because we're told that we're supposed to do these things. We're told that we're supposed to, live a certain way or perform. I call it the mask, and I know that there are certain signs that say that in your astrology and stuff like that. I learned that yesterday on a podcast. I was like, oh, that's me. I got one of those somewhere in my chart, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good at that. So I'll have to get an explanation off camera about that here in a little bit. But it was one of those things like, wow, that's an expectation that's not mine. That was given to me by somebody else, and they can give it back.
Right. And I don't like it. Half the time, half the things that we're doing, we don't like them. They don't make us feel good. We don't understand why we do them. If you allow yourself to take 5 seconds and be like, do I even want to do that?
Right.
And for me, if the answer is no, I am not going. And that's taken some years. It really has. It's taken a lot of growth and a lot of strength and a lot of challenges and a lot of experiments and having to be put through that. But truly, if it's not good for me and what I want to do, like, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Just that simple. It's literally that simple.
Awesome.
And it goes down to exactly like you said with our kids. I know that's the main reason why I really started my journey, why I'm so thankful that I am in my journey, is for them. Like, it is hard as a woman, as a mom, as a human being to even think that you're worthy enough for the healing and like for the understanding. But when you think about it for your kids and when you think about it for them, it's like a no-brainer, and I just want to just give my kids like so much opportunity for a world just so full of their own insight and grace and excitement. And I just know a lot of people are struggling. It's been 3 years now of a whole kind of collective, I feel like, struggle bus. And it's okay to hop off that shit.
Yeah. And I don't know if the listeners or people viewing this, I don't know if you saw her just freaking light up when she talked about her kids. And, obviously you can tell there's an age gap between Kelly Jo and I. And it's an amazing age gap because her generation, many of them are becoming aware of things so much faster with healing, with coming into their own, with understanding that they can stop some of this cycles. For some of us my age, it's taken us a little bit longer. We're a little bit more removed from it. We've been entrenched in paradigms and things like that for a lot longer. So the shift sometimes can happen a little bit later for some of us. And it is a little bit harder because we've been in the trenches a lot longer. But the knowing that you're doing it for yourself first, but then knowing that you're doing it for those to come, that should light anybody up. If it don't, then don't get on this bus. I'm just gonna tell people, like, don't get on this bus, because when you do get on this bus and you want to grow and you want to learn and you want to learn about things like astrology. I was learning about a Vedic astrology yesterday. Never heard of it in my life. Completely blew my mind. And I was like, wow, this is such powerful tools that our civilization has become so aware of. And if you're not using these tools, and this is how I want to wrap it up tonight, is there are tools that are available to you. Kelly Jo and I both have tools that we use in our own practices. We use not only just astrological tools, physical tools, we use supplements, we use different modalities to help people go through this process. So if you're interested in any of that, please reach out to us because we'll love to talk to you about that. But, you know, we also know that a part of our healing journey is what brought us together. So I'm going to share a little bit about that because we found a plant that for me saved my life. I know that's part of Kelly Jo's story is too, but, you know, keep listening, you know, to Kelly Jo and I's lives as we come into this, you know, into the new year and maybe into, you know, the springtime, because we're going to be sharing a lot of those stories. For me, I love stories. I love storytelling. I remember sitting at, you know, people's feet my entire life hearing stories, because stories are what tell us how to live our life. Stories are what we can listen to and we can hear, this person overcame this or was able to accomplish this because of this. And those stories tell us that narrative. We get a, you know, a crap load of narratives that sometimes are just BS. You know, and, you know, to hear narratives of people going through the trenches and coming out on the other side and seeing them light up like you just did, total gratitude right there to be able to witness that. So I hope you guys paid attention to that as listeners. But we're going to end for tonight. And if you have any questions about, you know, the new year, all the topics we talked about, just reach out to Kelly Jo and I. And I'm super grateful to be able to spend this time with you and share just a little glimpse of our story and our passions and who we are. So thank you very much. Gratitude.
Of course, so much gratitude. We are here for, you know, collectively the good of all to the harm of none. Just, we're not going to stop. We're not going to slow down. We're not going to do any of those things because it's just so important for you to understand that there is a different way. And it seems really funny and weird at first, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
You'll be okay.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah. See you later.